Welcome everybody, this is Patrick from Dutchy Tech Tips and welcome to Dutchy Tech Discussion Podcasts, where we have an open and opinionated discussion about technology. This is the first show for 2022, yes, that sounds right. And let me remind you, if you missed out on this show, you can have early access on-demand replay of this episode. It will be made available at the end of the show for our Patreons. And being a patron also allows you to get your questions answered. And unfortunately, we don't have any questions to answer today, and we normally do that at the end of the show. You can also listen to the archives of our past shows. The first two shows from last year are already up on YouTube, and some will be soon available on Spotify. Just a few tiny tweaks that I need to make that work. And let's head to our today's topics we're going to be talking about here on the Dutchy Tech Discussion Podcasts. Now, let me just scroll down to my notes. Now, normally we don't talk about this kind of conversation, but Betty White has passed away, so we'll be talking about that first up. Now, the next topic we'll be discussing is Windows 11 adoption rates, and also Apple giving in on right to repair. Quite interesting, really, but there's more to talk about that later. And the 12th generation Intel processor. Yeah, I don't know what to say about that, but I will talk about that later in the show. Airlines asked the FCC, I think it's the Federal Communication Commission, again to delay the C-band 5G rollouts. So we'll be talking about that. But this also is an old topic which we haven't discussed because it's been a while since we did the podcast, which is the Facebook rebranding. Really? Okay. So those are the topics we're going to be talking about today. And sort of an honor tradition, I wouldn't say that, but we've been doing this segment called COVID-19 Moments of Silence. Now, to let you know, since the last podcast, which has been probably over 6 months, estimated about 1.5 million people died since the last podcast video. And now the total number of people who have died is 5,452,900 people. That is a lot. Went up by 1.5 million in the last 6 months, if I got my math right. So, part of the show, we have a moment of silence for those who died, 5,452,900 people. So let's take a moment of silence for those people who lost their lives. Thank you for those who took part in the moment of silence for the COVID-19 people who died. Just to remind people that here in New Zealand, there's been another strain, the Delta strain, which put us in a lockdown just towards the end of late last year. I'm thinking I'm not getting used to this 2022 date yet. But it's highly encouraged that you get vaccinated, get your double shots. There's a lot of establishments around here in New Zealand that will refuse service, especially like Subway, if you don't have your thing called a COVID vaccine pass. So, but that's here in New Zealand, that you need a pass to enter these premises, otherwise they will refuse service. And also you still need to scan those COVID-19 QR barcodes for contact tracing. So, yes, COVID is going to be with us in the in the near future, and I don't know what to say. It's taking an effect on the economy. There's been price increases for certain industries and commodities. There's still delays of shipments. Like, I've been into the supermarket, and really, there's still a lot of toilet paper missing from the shelves. Excuse me. And I just don't understand why. And I noticed that more and more food products are becoming less, a lot of empty shelves. Or maybe have I got at the wrong time. But, yes, and we should not take this COVID-19, we should take it really seriously. Wear your face mask, get your 2 shots of vaccinations, make sure you QR contact tracing, and make sure that you have your COVID pass if you require it. So enough of that doom and gloom. Well, unfortunately, the first headline topic is, let's get into our topics for today. So, Betty White has just passed away. She died on 31st of December, which is a Friday morning. This is, if it's very hard to work out in time zones. So for me, it will be like yesterday morning. She was discovered that she passed away peacefully in her home, and died at the age of 99. And it's a bit sad. She's a very interesting character. I only just found out today when I was searching for topics to discuss on the podcast. And a few facts that I found that she's almost a few weeks off her 100th birthday on January the 17th. So about 16 days away. Now, it'll be interesting to see, because she was like a celebrity icon. And when the Prince William and what's her name? You got Meghan Markle and Harry. Kate Middleton, yes, that's the name. That went like gangbusters. TV coverage, everybody started talking about it. It starts going on the social media. I have seen a Netflix, looked like Netflix already doing some sort of tribute show or documentary or something. I don't know how they put that together pretty quickly. And that is something, it's going to be on the media. We don't know when. It's a little bit too early to find out if there's going to be like a live coverage funeral procession, like what they did with when George Bush's father passed away and things like that in America. So it'll be very interesting to see what they're going to do about that. But it's a bit sad. I'm just trying to figure out what kind of shows, because she's been on quite a lot of shows, like I think it was Betty White Off Her Rocker. I think it was sort of a prank show. I think The Proposal with Sandra Bullock and I should really put these in the notes. I've been pretty busy today. Sandra Bullock and Ryan Reynolds, if I can remember the top of. And that's like a movie. And I bet there's plenty of TV shows and movies that she's got credited to. And she is known as one of the Golden Girls. It's always been like the phrase, Betty White, one of the Golden Girls. I think it was a show. I'm not that very old. I bet older people who are listening to the show right now probably know what I'm talking about. Never seen it. I don't know if it's a show or a movie. I think it's a show. Never seen it. So, yes. So that's a bit sad that she passed away. And it would have been really good. She was been pretty active. But it would have been pretty good if she made it to 100th milestone. And that'll be a great achievement for her. So it's a bit quite sad. A lot of people are probably mourning her death right about now. So it'll be interesting to see what the media is going to do about her funeral and whatnot. I don't know what's going to happen because it hasn't been posted out yet because she only just died yesterday morning. So it will come out in the media when it will happen. Right. So that's some sad news. We want to cover our next topic. I have to say our next topic is about the Windows 11 adoption rates. It's estimated that the uptake raising around about 1 to 9%. That's pretty low. And it's a very slow adoption. Now, why? Now, my only opinions I can think of this is why the hype? Why the slow adoption rate? It will probably get quicker and quicker when Microsoft decides to urinate on your computer, probably putting in a potty mouth term, when they try to stop updates for Windows 10 or do some dodgy things I know they have done in the past to stop you using Windows 10. Now, what they've done is, in the past, they want to get people off Windows 7, 8, and 8.1 and everybody on the Windows 10 ecosystem. Now, don't get me wrong, I actually like Windows 10, but there are still some things that really annoy the crap out of me. And I think it is, the review people have sort of said, well, Windows 7 only made some subtle changes. You would think that, why would they do that? When they said Windows 10 is going to be the last version of the operating system. Oh no, as I probably talked about last time, there's Windows 11. But I think I know where the bottleneck is for the slow adoption rates is because of the TPM, the Trusted Platform Module, or TPM short, version 2. That is one of the system requirements, UEFI BIOS, the UEFI, which is the more, and secure boot capable. Now that's probably one of the reasons why people probably just, because I have seen a lot of videos out there, a lot of videos talking about this, that, my computer cannot support it, and people have come in droves finding workarounds to get around. I think the most problematic is TPM version 2. It's one of the requirements. And I did probably say in the last podcast, I don't even know what a TPM is. I'm guessing it's some sort of way of some sort of security feature. I don't know. And what we're going to see, because I actually have an Alienware, I think it's Alienware 17R 2 or 3 laptop, and I have been looking at the latest laptops, and it's quite interesting. Now they're offering Windows 11 by default. I don't know what I feel about that. They don't even give an option for Windows 10. If you do want an option for Windows 10, you're probably going to have to get a copy and install it yourself. It is said that businesses have to wait till 2023. So until 2022 now, they're probably going to have to wait until next year. That's where I read on an article from Computer Worlds, is that businesses have to wait until, because I don't think there's a lot of mainstream support for businesses. It's like the same thing with Windows 10. When XP went to 7, there was a big change. No, I think it was Vista. That was the biggest issue, where drivers... but what I don't understand is was just one sneaky tactic of making Microsoft to say, right, we're putting our foot down, and they said, well, old computers, bye-bye. We don't want old computers. We don't want to support old computers anymore. And that's why those UEFI, secure built, capable, and trusted platform module, or TPM, version 2 is required. And it's more of an innovation thing. I don't know, because all they have done is still got the Windows 10 architecture underneath it, which is just like saying, hey, it's like saying same old crap, but just putting a different version and just a version on it and slipping a new version sticker on it. That's what Facebook is doing, which I will talk about later as another topic we're going to be discussing. I don't know what to say about this. It is just, I haven't tried it. It has me concerned because I do want to create some tutorial videos, how-to tutorial videos, and slowly phase out the Windows 10 tutorial videos or make duplicates. Not a big fan of the start menu. Not a big fan of the start menu. At the moment, it's probably going to take some, like all new things, it's going to take some time to get used to. I don't know what your thoughts on this is. I'll be interested to hear what your thoughts on it. But I think this is pretty normal. Where when Microsoft does something jarring, the uptake rates is pretty slow. Or it's just a lack of support. Just one moment, I'm just going to grab a drink of water. I think it's a lack of support for programs, but it'll be interesting to see where it's going to go. And I will talk about Windows 11. I would like to try and give it a go if a VMware environment or a VirtualBox environment be able to handle it, because that's the big test. Trying it out on our VirtualBox server and see if it will work, and doing tutorial videos. That is what is the kicker, because I don't know how these virtual appliances deal with TPMs. I know that has have UEFI and Secure Boot capable. I don't know. It'll be very, very interesting to find out. So that is my opinionated thoughts on the Windows 11 adoption. If you have any things you want to add, let us know. But there's not much more I can say about that. So then we're going to move on to our next topic. And that is Apple. Apple gave in on right to repair. Dun dun dun. Okay. Now this is an article. I found this article on Computer World, and I wanted to talk about it because on the last episode of our podcasts we did last year, we talked about the framework laptop. It's about building a framework as such for a laptop that can be components can be removed, replaced, swapped out with ease. Now, there have been a number of companies out there, Apple in particular, who think it's their God-given right that that their product is intellectual property, and they don't like people repairing their products. Because what Apple's strategy is, which is a stupid one, what Apple's strategy is doing is a stupid one. What they're doing is they were making their devices slow, right? They were making their devices slow. But every time they released an iPhone or a tablet, but in terms of their product, they are the most expensive. So if I want a good tablet, I would buy a Samsung or some other one, because the same features or the same camera is probably good or close to an iPad. Now, don't quote me on that, but that's just my opinion. I actually haven't tested that opinion. But what is iPads and iPhones are for the rich people, and Samsung things or Androids devices are for the lower class or the medium class people. So, and what they do is they make it so hard. So if they're broke, if you go to their shop and say, "Oh, my screen broke, can you replace the screen?" They make it so difficult, more expensive, that it's cheaper to buy a new iPhone. Now, that's one of the things Apple wanted to be innovative, but they were taking it too far. And a lot of companies now, take a car for example. Just a normal standard type of car, right? I can go to any tire place, say I want to replace my tire or repair my tire. I can do it myself, or I can take it to any shop, say Tony's Tire Service, Bridgestone, Barrow Repairs, Carter's Tire Service. There's a whole bunch of Steve's Tire Service, just to name a few. Wright Tire Service, some of the local ones here in Palmerston North, and they can repair the tire or replace the tire with no problem. But until the day they stopped doing that, and made it harder, it's very easy to change, take a tire off your wheel, off its rim. Very easy to do. Very, very easy to do. But when it comes to technology, like computers, you can open it up, replace the hard drive if you need to. Take the RAM, replace the motherboard, power supply, and stuff like that. And it used to be that you can repair your tablet. You can just take out a new screen, put a new one in, or I remember the day of those brick phones. If there was a problem with your battery, you could just go in the shop and buy it. Now what they do is they weld it, they fuse it, and they just say, oh, it's cheaper to manufacture it that way. Well, that's a load of bull. That's a load of bull. But I think Apple's been the big conversation. I know Lewis Rossman has been a very, from Rossman Repair Group. I see a lot of his videos. And he's got some very strong opinions about right to repair. And he's been going around to state in the US trying to, and I think I have talked about this example about a John Deere tractor. I don't think it's just Apple here. Right repair is so important because some things we are heavily reliant on. So if your tractor just stopped in the middle, or your combine harvester just stopped because your computer had a glitch, and the only way is to plug in a diagnostic program that's only available to the dealers or the authorized repair agents, people stand to lose time and money. Now, what they are doing, and I think Apple gave up, because I'm going to talk about this in the next minute. So what they've done is they have created a self-service repair program. So this will enable customers to perform their own repairs using genuine Apple parts and tools. Now, I have noticed that an article that says, until now, access to genuine Apple parts and tools and manuals have been reserved for some 5,000 Apple authorized repairs, or AASPS for short, and 2,800 independent repair providers. Now, I am not, because I'm not really sure where Lewis Rossman, because he does MacBook repairs in the US, and I know that he struggles to find. He's always been ranting and raving about things. Maybe I don't fully understand it, of how much of the hoops he has to go through just to repair a certain device. So this program will be available. So I don't know if I'm not 100% sure, but this program will be available early next year in the US, and will and expand to additional countries throughout in 2022, meaning this year. It's just like saying, hey, I want a replacement screen, and they'll probably give you like guides, video guides on certain models. It will only be available for certain models. So if you're going to say, I need to repair an iPhone 4, well, or 5 or 6, they're probably, they're probably going to give you, I'm not 100% sure, they're probably going to give you some of the older or new, maybe it's newer. And I think their strategy probably will be, is they'll give you right to repair the newer one, and soon as their next version comes out, I'm just only predicting, this is only opinion, I'm guessing, because Apple's always sneaky and conniving. I'm guessing, I'm going to put some money on this, where when the next iPhone comes out, they're going to discontinue the parts from the previous model. Because they still want to make you buy a new device every new year. They will find ways just to urinate on your device. Now, I got to, on a side note of this conversation about the right to repair, the European Commission, don't know who they are, but in the last few years, I have noticed that the European Union, or Brexit, because I know that UK had a massive Brexit outcome, and I have seen people on YouTube that have there's shortage of fuel tankers and drivers and fuel shortages because of logistics issues. But I have noticed that the European have been very aggressive in policies. What they have done is they had the GDPR, the global to do with privacy. Now, when the GDPR came out, it was that when GDPR came out, what happened is that people's private information, like domain register information, became hidden. So it was very harder to get a hold of domain controller, which is good because it protects our privacy. So that was their first step of putting better privacy, more transparent, more stricter things. So if you don't do what they say, well, you're going to get thrown out of the trash. And the whole world, in order for the European countries, for people in the US who needs, say for example, if there's like millions of people who use Facebook in the European country, they can't use it because they do not comply with the GDPR. Now, so that's only the first thing they did. Then they went crazy on copyright. They went crazy on copyright. Now, you probably still, if you guys are still listening, you're probably saying, what's this got to do with Apple right to repair? I'm getting to that question. So about copyright. So they started getting all anti about copywriting and getting all hardline about that sort of stuff. But then just recently, the European Commission, European country or body, done it again. And what they wanted to do is to have a common charger port for all mobile phones, tablets, and headphones. They've done it. It's like first with the privacy, next with the copyrights, and now with the universal phone chargers, tablet chargers, or headphone chargers. And yes, and now I'm getting to the point of Apple's how Apple they disagreed with it because they have their own like, okay. So when I go to a shop, say Noel Leeming, there's a whole section of chargers for different devices. Samsung, probably most likely Android devices have more similar USB type C connections. But there are, over the past 10 years, there have been multiple different. So when Apple releases a new device, a new charger, or a new device, new charger. Now, I'm actually interested in because I did say a while ago I was displeased with about Dell's chargers, laptop chargers, in a previous podcast. Now, I don't know if that applies to that thing, but Apple disagree with it. And they say, no, our intellectual property. Apple, we don't want other people using our thing. So they gave in to right to repair, but they disagree with... it seems that European Commission or the European countries are bullying the world, just like China is bullying the world with a lot of things. They're bullying the world, trying to get the world in line, and some of it I actually agree with, but that's just only my personal opinion. Some of it I agree with. Now, just one moment, I'll just have another drink of water. So, yeah, it'll be very interesting to see how it'd be very interesting to see how it's going to happen. Now, it may, because there's another take of this, is that for brands, especially like us, we don't want... This is like the YouTube apocalypse, where brands didn't want to be associated to more dodgy contents. They don't want to put ads on dodgy content. And this could possibly open up to abuse, giving right to repair. And Apple's been very hardline about protecting their business and probably ripping off customers. I don't know, but that's just my opinion. But it could possibly, this right to repair could be open up to abuse, because then independent repair providers, you might get some dodgy independent repair. There might be some rogue shops opening up. Say, cheap iPhone repairs with genuine Apple parts. But we don't know what the cost of these parts will be. That is going to be the snafu. So if they're going to be charging $500 for a new screen, like they do in a shop, yeah, that's not going to work. Because Apple wants to make money somewhere. But it'll be very interesting to see how it's going to be very interesting to see. So I'm going to move on to the next topic, and that is 12th gen Intel processor. Now, I'm not much of a hardware person. I know a bit about hardware. I've covered this sort of stuff in university. So the 12th generation Intel processor. Now, they've been calling their processors, their Core i series, i3, 5, 7, and 9, like KB Lake, Coffee Lake. It seems to be a lot of lakes. Now, the 12th generation... so the 12th generation is called Alder Lake, right? It's called the Alder Lake, and it's the 12,000 or 1200 series, I think. Yes. So they're saying that Intel's 12th generation core architecture is a radical departure from its predecessor. Now, when I see something like that in an article, I scratch my head and say, what does that mean? What is so different? It's radical departure from its predecessor. Now, what they mean by that is the most notable difference in the use of two distinctly different microarchitectures inside the same processor. When I've been reading this today, it's like, so what it does, it provides excellent multi-threaded and single-core performance. It's unlocked and overclockable, and it still has the base power voltage 125 watts. And I'm not much of a socket expert, but it requires an LGA 1700 socket. So I'm guessing upgrading makes it a lot harder in the future. I don't know, but the previous generation required an LGA 1200s socket, and the 10th generation Intel processor required an LGA 1151 socket. Now, I'm not much of a CPU, central processing person, expert, but I know from little previous experience is that if you're changing the sockets, it makes it harder to upgrade your processor. So you end up buying, it's like saying, I got a 486 motherboard, like I got a 386 motherboard, I want to put a 486 in it. I have a 486 motherboard and I want to put a Pentium in it. It won't, because I have tried it and the socket's different. And that's probably what makes it very difficult and very hard to... So you might end up having to buying a new motherboard. I'm not an expert on it, but I have to actually see if you can upgrades, what are these LGA sockets mean. I might have to do some further research. But that's just something in my notes. Apparently it requires an LGA 1700 socket. Now, here is what they meant about the core architecture is radically different from its predecessors. Most is that it has different. So when the first CPUs came out, it was a single CPU, and then around about 10 to 20 years ago, they start an idea called coring, meaning that because technology got smaller and smaller, or the manufacturing process got smaller and smaller, instead of having one CPU, one chip, they decided to divide it. So you can actually have a dual core, meaning you're going to have, it's like having two CPUs in one chipset, and you can actually split. You can split your tasks over multiple CPUs or cores, if you want to call it. So what they mean about the change is that they call them, saw the spec sheets, and they said performance cores and efficiency cores. So P cores and E cores. So, and I was like, my jaw dropped, and I said, what's that mean? And I just didn't understand, because if you think of it, when you buy a single processor with no cores, it has a sort of a speed, say like 3.1 gigahertz, all right? Now, what you can do is, with a dual core, you can have 3.1 gigahertz on each core, shared core performance. So that means you have technically 6.2 gigahertz of processing power. I don't think that is actually how you work it out. So what that means is there are processors out there that's you can get certain processors for certain functions. So what they've done is they split. So instead of having because you can probably overclock cores. All right, you can overclock your processor to get more, or change the turbo speeding. I think that's an Intel term. So basically, turbo speeding is overclocking. So you might end up having like 4 gigahertz per core, or as an example. So what they've distinctly changed is having 2 microarchitectures inside the same processor. And what that means is you're going to have your performance cores and your efficiency cores. So if you want some core grunt, and I don't know how the software is going to tell, I don't know how it's going to work. So if you want some needed cores that require high intensity frequency, like you want, say, 3.1 gigahertz performance, or you want something on a lower running on something on a lower thing. So what I'm going to do is, I hope it didn't interfere. Good, no frame drops. So I'm going to go and look at okay. So I'm going to look at my task manager. So just open my task manager, and I'm looking at the CPU. Now, when I'm looking at this thing, at the moment I'm utilizing about 20 to 30% utilization of CPU at the moment, because obviously I am streaming up to Twitch at the moment. Now, the base, so in there it says the base speed. All right. The base speed is 2.6 gigahertz. Now, what's actually happening at the moment, it is overclocking a bit. So I only got 4 cores, and I think logical processors. So it's a quad core. And what's happening is, yes, so it's a 2.6 gigahertz processor. And so what's happening at the moment, it's fluctuating. And then obviously there's no way, can I actually see, let's see, I can't show you what's on there because I've got sensitive information. Surely there is a way, no, not view summaries, options, set default tab processor, no. Because I think it used to be able to, I think it's Windows 7 or XP, where it used to split down and show you what each core was doing. And what's happening is that it's fluctuating. So basically your so it's fluctuating. So at the moment it's 2.14 gigahertz, then it drops down to 2.16 below the base speed. So it keeps fluctuating. And what happens is that it's because of multi-core processor. If you need some more high, say if you're rendering maybe a video. Yeah, I'll just drink a bit of water. If you're rendering, excuse me, if you're rendering a jeepers, excuse me, if you're rendering a video that's using CPU usage, you'll find that it may be more efficient on the high performance cores than the low efficiency cores. So instead of actually making the cores at each base speed at 2.6 gigahertz, they'll give you, say if it's a quad core, they might give you 2 cores at, say, 3.1 gigahertz, and then they might give you which is your performance cores, and then they will give you, say, the other 2 at, say, 2.6 gigahertz, which is your, say, your efficiency cores. So this is going to take a while to get used to, and I'm not really sure if I really need to look this up. I don't want to open up Google tab to actually look up because it might interfere with the stream. To see what AMD Ryzen CPUs, if they do the same thing as well. I have seen some very interesting things like Threadripper and Ryzen CPUs have got some very high core CPUs at very affordable rates. And I would think it's, to be honest, some people will set up servers using the Core i9 series because it's going to be very difficult for this architecture because if people are setting up virtual machines and they share their cores, it's going to be very difficult because then obviously everybody's not going to get a fair share of the same clock speed. That's going to be quite weird. But the good thing about this new generation, it's supporting much more faster DDR5 RAM. So obviously there is DDR5 already exist, or DDR6 or 7 I think already exist, but that's for graphics cards. So RAM is slowly catching up to the graphics card's memory. So DDR5, it'll be a while before that goes mainstream, but this processor will actually support, this architecture will support motherboards with DDR5 RAM. But there's not much really I can say about this. I might revisit this later in a future podcast. I just don't know. But that said, I got to go and press on because I'm running out of time, and I got 2 more topics to cover. And boy, oh boy, I'm having so much fun today. Much information, a lot of information for you guys today. Well, I'll just take a quick break here for a second to let you know that if you want to watch, if you missed out this episode and you want to replay this, I will have on-demand access, only available to a certain level of Patreons. So if you want to watch this episode later or you missed the beginning of it, I will put up a copy on our Patreon page and you can watch it later. And if you missed out on past podcasts you want to listen to, you can listen to the archives on our YouTube and will be soon available on Spotify. So let's go back to our second to last topic. Is airlines ask FCC again to delay the C-band 5G rollout. Now, as you know, that phones are coming out. I'll just grab my phone. Phones are coming out. New phones support 5G. Unfortunately, my Samsung phone's probably about a year or 2 old, probably 3 years old, 2 years old. Doesn't support 5G. What I can see, it says 4G plus. I don't know what that means. Let's see if I can. Let's see what it says. What does 4G mean? Usually it will. No, I have to go and Google. That. So the newer phones have 5G support. Now, what that means is that it allows faster access to websites, makes things faster. It's like saying Wi-Fi 6, and there's actually a new revision came out for Wi-Fi 6, and I can't remember what is it, Wi-Fi 6A? I don't know. I remember seeing Theo Joe doing a video about it the other day, and he explained that with Wi-Fi, you have two bands. You have the 2.4 gigahertz band, and then you have the 5 gigahertz bands. Now, I don't know what C band is. I should have actually looked this up before I done the script for the show. So, airline companies filed an emergency injunction or request with the Federal Communications Commission, asking to further delay the rollout of the new 5G wireless service near airports until further studies can prove that the signals won't disrupt critical airplane instruments. Now, when they say please turn off your phone or please put on airplane modes when you're in an aircraft, it's because it probably interferes with maybe radar. Because Theo Joe actually had a good example of this, discussing about this, was you got multiple channels, and I actually learned something from Theo Joe's video, is that Wi-Fi have multiple channels, and some of them are actually locked out for a reason, but the new Wi-Fi 6A or plus or -1 or whatever they call it, allows to open up some more channels. And what happens is that, say you got on the 2.4 gigahertz band, and say you only got from channels 1 to 11. Now, I'm only going this off by muscle memory. So, Wi-Fi devices can automatically go and change. They have auto channeling, which allows them to change things. So, if your device gets a lot of interference, so if everybody's using channel 1 of the 2.4 gigahertz bands, you'll find that your device is going to be slower. You're going to have a lot of interference, a lot of congestion, because Wi-Fi is taking an alarm. You got things in cars now, Bluetooth, everything's almost wireless. I bet you, I'm probably sitting in here in this office here, and there's probably a lot of Wi-Fi devices. Wi-Fi devices have been increasing dramatically, but the problem is congestion. Now, where the airlines are concerned is they're concerning that there may be an overlap of the C-bands. Because imagine, that's why, okay, put it this way. When you're in airplanes, you have certain classes of airspace, restricted, maybe an A or B or C things. So when things get congestion, they're trying to put you in holding patterns in certain airspaces. So, for example, they'll put you in a holding pattern. And they will have you in a certain airspace flight level, and they will have you circling around in a certain area until they will be able to let you land, or they'll redirect you to another airspace. And they have, say, probably a separation of, say, 500 feet or 1,000 feet separation between each, including that airspace. But what happens is when you have airplanes that are so congested, they start crashing into each other. there's no room. They get over congested, and there's no room. Now, I think it's when the COVID shut down, or when the US shut down its airspace, or when the 9/11 attack happened. There was this mad panic trying to get all the planes landed, and there was so much congestion in the airspace. It's the same with signals. If you get too much congestion, you get interference or accidents or crashes in terms of airplane stuff. And it seems that this 5G, airlines have concerns that it'll be interfering with their radar frequencies, or they're pretty too close. There's not enough separation between airlines. And I don't know. It's just, I don't know. Obviously, there's a big demand, and obviously FCC, the Federal Communications Commission, needed to open up more bands or make it these frequencies, different frequencies. Now, speaking of frequencies, I don't know what 5G is actually running on. Now, if you think of it, put it this way. So how these frequencies, so 2.4 gigahertz, all right, to understand what the difference between that and 5 gigahertz is, that 5 gigahertz, the waves are more compact. 5 gigahertz a bit more, you can see the lines going a bit up and down more quicker in a segment, or in a block, where 2.4 gigahertz, where the lines are sort of more spaced apart. Now, the difference between 2.4 and 5 gigahertz is that 2.4 can actually travel further, but with less data, of course. But with 5 gigahertz, obviously, you can transport more data, but at a shorter distance. And there are probably a few hacks to get around that. And obviously 5G, I'm thinking is that in order for 5G to work, is that they need more access points. Because if I'm thinking of 5G, it's probably beyond the 5 gigahertz band, because it's faster. So you probably think it's probably the 6 gigahertz band, which obviously I think that's what the Wi-Fi 6, is it 6 or 7, 8 gigahertz? I think it's the 6 gigahertz band. I can't remember from the top of my memory. And obviously it allows more information to travel faster, but over a shorter distance. That means there's more cell towers or access points need to be put up. And I noticed that my cell reception at home, as I have a dead spot, when making phone calls, I got poor reception. And I'm actually in the CBD now. Let's see, let me look at my phone. I got better cell reception here than I do at home. And there's areas around New Zealand that are like that. Now, I do have a cell tower, which is about 2 kilometres away. But it's just too far away, and the performance quite a few in our area. Maybe it's direction, the direction's not right, or but they probably eventually they're going to have to put another cell tower when demand is going to get bigger and bigger and bigger, or the suburb's going to expand. They're going to have to put in a cell tower to handle the load for that. But yes, it'll be interesting to see. They want an extension to stop them putting by near airplanes or airports. It'll be very interesting to see if they grant it. Excuse me, get a little bit sore throat after talking too long. So it'll be interesting to see. Obviously, I think we do have some 5G. I'm not sure if we got 5G in New Zealand just yet. I think we do. We do have the devices, but I don't think it's widespread yet. But I think that's enough for that topic, and we're going to go on to our last topic, which is Facebook rebranding. Now, I know this is old news. Now, I don't know what's happening. Facebook has been getting some very bad reputation. They've been plagued by scandals over the last few years. Now, there's about 3.58 billion people who use Facebook and its services every month. And what they're doing in their Menlo Park, California headquarters, they are putting this new blue affinity-shaped symbol with a new name called Meta. Called Meta. Now, if someone knows what I'm talking about when you build a website, you put metadata or meta tags. And when the government spies on you, they look at your metadata. Where the email came from, where is it going to. Now, they had some number of privacy issues, Facebook had. Just recently, Facebook was down for quite a few hours, and someone tried to I just don't understand how that works, what causes that. It seemed to be some sort of, I don't know, it's way above my understanding on how it's a very sophisticated infrastructure they have. But they want to rename Facebook to Meta. And it's like, right, so we are supplying you with data so you can sell to advertisers or serve ads. I think it's a stupid name. They're calling themselves Meta. And instead of a thumbs up icon, the blue thumbs up, now they're changing to the infinity logo. Now, is that crap? Like copyright? Like that infinity logo. It's like, I'm going to have an infinity logo on my website. On my website. Oh no, Facebook's going to go after me because I just stole their intellectual property. Infinity logo. It's like, what? What? It just doesn't make any sense at all. I just don't. I don't know. And I don't know when they're rolling this out, because I'm still. Believe it or not, there is a lot of work that needs to go and changing things. Now, because I know that Facebook now owns Instagram, they own WhatsApp, so they've been buying things, been buying businesses and integrating them part of their solutions. But it makes me wonder, when that outage happened, they were trying to that outage has actually happened for all their services. It makes me wonder, because they're sophisticated, because to just change to meta.com and making everything go with the flow, yes, I'm just not convinced. It's very hard to it's going to be it's going to be a very complicated process to do. Now, I have noticed that with transferring our websites into Squarespace, I've been having teething problems. So you would think that's this is even on a bigger and larger scale than us. I don't know when they're going to roll it out. Still, we haven't heard about the new Facebook dating site that they claim to have. It hasn't been made available in New Zealand yet. But sometimes when people want to rebrand themselves is to get rid of... some people look at it as trying to forget their past and get rid of their crap. Trying to do a new look. Now, we did rebranding before, and it was not to get rid of bad reputation. We just wanted a more cleaner and modern look. That's fine. But Facebook has got a long way to go to get rid of its old crap. Now, I know Telecom here in New Zealand renamed to Spark, but they still had the same old crappy crap, and I'm not 100% sure. I think they have improved a little bit, their services a bit, but it's very hard to, I don't know when they're going to say, oh, you're going to have a Meta app, because that means they're going to have to change the name of the app and the logo and all the details, whether we have to delete our, have to download a new app. I don't know, because it could be that Facebook is still going to be the same, but Meta is going to be the group of companies. I don't know. But it's more like it's going to be that Facebook is going to be called Meta. And I don't know. I guess that's just my opinion, that they got a long way to they got a long way to get themselves right on the back path. But that's all I can talk to you guys today about. I'm running over time today. Some topics took a bit longer to talk about. Now, if you're not a patron, if you want to listen to the podcast, a replay of this podcast, sign up to one of the appropriate levels of on Patreon. And this podcast will be eventually made in the archive, but Patrons will have a first go at it. Things are going to be changing here at Dutchy Tech Tips. We're going to have hopefully more video content coming out, more video content coming out soon, online courses, consulting services, so to watch out for those. But Happy New Year, everybody. I hope you're having a good day with your friends and family, your loved ones. And for those who had nothing better to do than listening to this stream live, thank you. Thank you for listening. And we'll see you. We don't know when. I will post something on our website. We're going to create a podcast page. We'll tell you when the next, or just look at our socials, when our next podcast. And hopefully the more podcasts I do, the more better I get at it. And once again, thank you for taking the time to listen to this podcast, and we'll see you next time.